A number of incidents occurred during the Emmys this past weekend that had people raising their eyebrows. Now, the one incident that I agree was questionable involved the in memoriam portion of the Emmys where they list and commemorate all the individuals who lost their lives or passed away throughout the past year. Now, Roger Ailes was actually included in it, and people are not too happy. Okay, so for those of you who forgot about what Roger Ailes did, he had allegedly sexually harassed so many women at Fox News that 21st Century Fox, the parent company for Fox News, had to shell out $45 million in settlements for Roger Ailes. One woman said that her experience with him was psychological torture and that he pressured her to perform oral sex on her. Ailes told one of his anchors, Gretchen Carlson, quote, "I think you and I should have had a sexual relationship a long time ago, and then you'd be good and better, and I'd be good and better." She received a $25 million settlement as a result of the sexual harassment that she allegedly dealt with. And so all these women came forward, and it led to him being ousted from Fox News. And the thought of him being commemorated or celebrated upsets people for good reason, I think.
Yeah, it was surprising to see him, and it was a weird in memoriam anyway, because if you didn't see it, and you certainly shouldn't be faulted if you didn't. I mean, it's a long show, but this is a part of the show where they, you have a lot of people who've made contributions to television, generally on screen, but there are also a lot of screenwriters, producers, directors who are part of it as well. And to see Ailes there was shocking. By the way, shocking also in view of the fact that people like Dick Gregory, who did tons of Tonight Show appearances, had been on television. Again, he's from that vintage, okay, from long ago, but that's oftentimes those are the people who die, the people who were on television long ago, they're now old. And to see him left out, and along with Erin Moran from Happy Days, she was left out. This is while you include Roger Ailes, this guy who resigned in shame. I mean, if this were the ESPYs, would you have Joe Paterno up there?
Oh, wow.
I mean, Joe Paterno, who knew about the abuse of kids on the Penn State campus and looked the other way for decades? No, you wouldn't. And I think Roger Ailes falls into that same category.
Yeah, that is a great point. That's so perfectly articulated. And also keep in mind that the people who were honored included individuals like Gwen Ifill, who's amazing, was amazing, incredible journalist.
And you're saying was a pioneer for women as well.
Was a pioneer for women, and so to have him included in that list, I think understandably upset some people, especially people who were victimized by Roger Ailes. So that was a little strange. And then of course, everyone's talking about Sean Spicer coming out and kind of poking fun at himself, and the fact that he lied during a press briefing about Trump's inauguration crowd size. I didn't really care about that.
Yeah, that was funny. I thought also, and I guess maybe I should or shouldn't include this in the mix, but whether the mix that you evaluate things in. But I thought, well, he's making fun of this fact being clearly bankrupt of any truth.
Right.
And so, from that standpoint, I kind of give him a pass. The other argument, and again, I'm kind of torn, is but he was clearly daily pushing these truths and lies and fictions. And to that extent, for him to be even celebrated for a moment at the Emmys, that, I get it, that could be galling. I guess for some reason, the moment kind of played as theater to me, and for some reason it didn't bother. If you brought, what's her name out? I just can't believe it.
Kellyanne Conway.
Thank you. Oh my God, she is. I mean, that would. Let's assume she left the Trump White House and then she was included in an Emmy bit. I'd find it loathsome beyond Sean Spicer. Sean Spicer was almost a joke. She is, I think, such a pernicious influence on this society and media. She's a propagandist and a horror. And she helped get this guy elected. That also puts her in a different category. So that wouldn't pass the sniff test. He's closer for me.
He's closer. Yeah, I guess I don't care that much, but the arguments that I've heard against having him be part of the Emmys is that it rehabilitates his career path.
Fair enough.
And I hear you, because right now he's having a hard time finding work. People are just kind of saying no, like PR firms and things like that. And look, that's what publicists do, though. That's what press secretaries do. They do damage control. They go out there and they try to kind of change messaging or change the perception of something that a public figure has done or said. And so I'm not making excuses for Sean Spicer, but that is what he signed up for.
Right.
And
look, there are some who would say that those who served under Obama or Bush, they should suffer that same ostracized fate that Sean Spicer we want to consign him to.
The whole point of a press secretary is to lie to you. Like, let's keep it real. I mean, Sean Spicer, it's much more jarring given the fact that we have a man-child sitting in the Oval Office right now, or maybe not even sitting in the Oval Office because he's never there. But nonetheless, like
sitting upstairs watching TV. But yeah, same,
exactly.
We get it. Yeah.
It's more jarring with Trump, but in past administrations, it's the same thing. The press secretary is there for damage control, to change the perception of what the president has done or is doing, has said. And so that's not surprising. It's just that Sean Spicer's lies were just so incredibly obvious. Like the thing about the crowd sizes at the inauguration. And he was asked about that today, actually, and he was asked whether or not he regrets that press briefing, and he said, I do. Well, I would regret it too. That was laughable.
If you like this clip of the Young Turks, you know there's a whole live 2-hour show, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern every day, and you can download it or stream it and watch it without ads if you become a member. tytnetwork.com/join.